Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett and I am so excited because in today's video, we are talking all about making your small home look expensive and luxurious and designer. And we've got a lot to talk about. Now, the first thing we have to absolutely address is that small is a relative term. What is small to you might be big to me, and that's okay. But just keep that in mind as we go forward, that no matter what your style is, no matter what the size of your home is, you can take the same elements and design principles and apply them, just maybe shrink them down a little bit to fit your space. Okay, the first area that really is gonna make your home look expensive, no matter the size of it, right? You can still take these and apply them to a large home. Even though these will work in a small home, you can apply them to a large home. It's the details. Those fine details make a difference. And that really is where quality and luxury shines through. It's in those fine details. And that means a lot of different things. And when it comes to design, that covers a broad range of topics. Some of my favorite fine details that I love to see in a home are great drapes. I don't like to see, like a cheap packaged drape on a beautiful drapery rod in a gorgeous home. It doesn't do justice to the space. So getting good quality drapes that fit your space beautifully, that's a good place to put a little bit of that budget into to really get that expensive, luxurious look and feel. And drapes don't have to be fully custom. You can get semi-custom that are shoppable in my Amazon storefront. No, they're not, cheap, flat, pre-packed drapes that are gonna have to be hemmed by someone else. You can select the exact length you need, so be sure you check them out and get some pinched pleats to really get that layered look and feel. The size of your rugs. Now, every design commentator on YouTube talks about rug size. As an interior designer, this is something I actually think really makes a big difference. You should either have all of your furniture on the rug, but sometimes in a smaller space, the furniture isn't floated in the middle of the room. So half or 75%, 3/4 of the way underneath the furniture is okay. Like if you have your sofa against a wall, have the rug extend underneath it substantially, but not all the way, to get that really layered look and feel. And then, an accent chair, a coffee table that should sit entirely on the rug. One of the details I think a lot of people overlook is one of my favorite, which is actually lighting. I talk about lighting all of the time and I tell you to put a lamp in every corner, have layered lighting, soft lighting, but there is so much more to lighting. The temperature of it, I like a warmer light, in a lamp, I like a 2700 light bulb, or if you're doing LEDs, you may not get to choose, but go for warm lights. For an overhead fixture or, recessed lighting, under cabinet lighting, you can go a little bit brighter than that, and even a little bit brighter than that. Let's say you do 3000 and under cabinet lighting, and in your kitchen, you could maybe go 3500, 4000. That's a good mid temperature in a bathroom where you need to kind of see what you're doing. But it's all about not seeing bulbs in public spaces or areas where you're relaxing. In a bathroom, chances are we're gonna see a light bulb, okay? It needs to be really bright, and that's okay. If you look into the recessed can light, yeah, you're gonna see the light bulb. But on a lamp next to a sofa, you have to make sure that the light height, the height of the lamp, is low enough that you don't see the bulb, right? That's a detail that doesn't look luxurious or expensive. I personally love a vintage lamp, and you can get a vintage lamp with a new shade on it. Or, there's plenty of great lamps at thrift stores, at Home Goods you can find. Just make sure it's the right height for the space. Because when we see a bulb, when we see that direct light, it's very harsh. There's some more great lights in my Amazon storefront, including this wonderful one right here behind me with a pivot mounted actual light, so I can make it shine on the wall, but I can also angle it to look at a book if I'm sitting here reading. Lots of great lighting out there. Having good lighting makes your home look expensive, but it's all about the details in that lighting and the placement of it, the style of it. We don't want to see those harsh bulbs, so be sure you're really giving that some strong consideration. And I always say on those overhead lights, add a dimmer. Another detail I think is often overlooked but makes a really big difference in a home, especially a small home, and really sets the tone. It makes it look and feel designer and expensive, is the scale of items you're bringing into the space. Scale is a term that we use instead of size. Size is small, medium, large, right? It's not descriptive enough to describe the way something visually looks. So the scale of furniture you bring into your house matters. You can have something like the sofa I'm sitting on in my studio here. It's actually a small sofa. It doesn't have too much depth, it doesn't have too much length, but it's larger scale because it's completely closed underneath. It's a completely closed back on it. It makes it look a little larger, a little heavier than it actually is, it takes up more visual weight, so that is larger scale. Something like a coffee table or, a dining chair that is open underneath, that's a smaller scale item, and that makes a difference too. So you can balance those out, get a larger scale sofa with a smaller scale table or accent chairs to really make a space feel open and bright, and that sort of thing makes a space feel a lot bigger, and that's what you might need in a smaller space. You can also play around with balance and scale together, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But if you are having any difficulty finding the right elements, the pieces, or choosing things for your home, whether that is coming up with a layout, a paint color, I am at your service. You can always book a one-on-one design and decorating consultation with me where I can answer any and all of your design and decorating needs. Just use the link in the description box down below or go to intro.co/GarrettLeChic. When it comes to a small home, we have to be specific and intentional with the choices we're making, and one of those is actually the color schemes we're using throughout the entire home. Now, there's obviously going to be some exceptions to that if you have multiple bedrooms, your kids have their own rooms. We can let the kids do their own thing, but in the public areas that flow together, we need our color schemes to be consistent, and they need to work together. What does that mean though? Well, if you have multiple smaller rooms that connect to one another and they have, a flow to them, we don't want to have them be completely different in a jarring way. We want them to feel like it's meant to be that way, like it works with the other rooms. For example, I would not paint this room white and the hallway green because it's a strong contrast. There is not a green reference here that's strong enough to make that make sense. But if I painted this room white and another room blue, well, there's plenty of blue accents here to make that work. That's something that really matters in a smaller home. So if you have your living room and your foyer are connected or something, that's a good area to do something neutral, bright, so it's a little bit airy when you walk in, great. The dining room and kitchen can be a little darker as long as we have that same lighter tone referenced in them. Color schemes are all about repetition and consistency and using the same thing over and over again, but it doesn't have to be the exact same thing or a perfect match. We want spaces to work together, especially in a smaller home where, you might just be more limited. And the same thing goes for open concept homes. Open concept, there's one room, so all of the colors together should work. They should have connection from one space to another. In my home, my living room currently is painted white because I haven't decided on another color, but I love blue. So I have a blue sofa, I have blue wedgwood in places scattered around my living room because I like that. And I have a lot of mahogany wood furniture because, once again, I just like that. My dining room is actually painted in a wedgwood blue because it's referencing back to all of the accents in my living room. So there is an immediate connection between the two that's creating really strong flow from one room to another. That's what's important when you're choosing colors in a smaller home because you don't want to have something that just doesn't make any sense. And that's not a limitation on the colors you can use. You can have burgundy in one room and green in the other. Fine, perfect, love it actually. But we need to have some green here and some burgundy over there, and then let's make our neutrals be consistent. So if the neutral is white or if it's beige, if it's black, it needs to be in both of those spaces. We have the same color scheme, it's just inverted in each room. That's what you have to do in a small home to make it look expensive, okay? That's the goal of this video, right? We want to make a small house look expensive, but we also want to make it feel natural and comfortable. And when we add too many small details into a smaller space, it feels cluttered, it feels busy, it does not feel intentional, and that intentional quality is what achieves great design no matter the size of a home, be it small, be it large, be it, a teeny home or a giant mansion. Now you may have seen a little thing popping up in the corner as Arden moves around and sits on the sofa, but here he is to say hello before he goes back to have another nap, aren't you? It's almost impossible to believe that he is 10 months old, isn't it? Can you believe you're 10 months old? I don't think you really care, do you? Okay, well that's all right. But what I know that he does care about is that you're here, which I care about too, and I'd like to thank you for spending some time with us. If you made it this far in the video, we know that you are finding some great value in this content, so be sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button, join us, become a part of our LeChic family, and join us on our journey to 100,000 subscribers. call yourself an OG by hitting that subscribe button. And I would also greatly appreciate it if you gave this video a like. Wouldn't you appreciate that, Arden? Wouldn't you appreciate that? I think the only thing he'd appreciate right now is being set down so he can go back to his nap. Okay, we're gonna set you down and we'll get back to the video. Now, another big part of designing a smaller home, or any home for that matter, is gonna be a great furniture layout. But in a smaller home, we once again have to be intentional, and we have to make decisions that make our home have better flow, more accessibility, and that feels a little bit more open, therefore making it larger. There are also some pieces of furniture we can choose that will really enhance the flow and functionality of a space like that. Okay, now when it comes to layouts, I've talked about a lot of them. So I'm gonna link a video right up here for you to check out. I'll also put it at the end of this video, all about layouts for your living room, and I think that really will make a difference in a small space, because I find that smaller homes tend to have areas that are more like hallways or pathways. There's a lot of flow, people walk through them to get from one side of the house to the other, and that really limits you on where you can put your furniture. And I'd say this is probably one of the biggest conversations I have with my clients when we're doing consultations, because that can be so difficult. Now, I would say you start with the living room, for example. What do you have in the living room that we want to disguise, that we want to hide when we first enter? And for me, that would be a TV. And sometimes you just have that limitation where the wall is gonna be right there when you walk in, you're gonna see the TV, there's only one place for it, that's okay. But let's talk about where that goes, and then where's the sofa gonna go that we can sit there and see it and watch it. I also want to see as much floor space as possible when I walk into that room, no matter which direction I'm coming from. That's gonna limit me on the furniture choices I'm making. You can achieve something like that in your living room by being intentional with it. And I think a lot of people have an opposition to putting a piece of furniture with its back to a window. And unless you've got a really great view, I think it's okay to do that. It's, you know, sometimes that's just the limitations that your space has. It's okay. In older homes with smaller living rooms, I think sectionals are amazing because you get that extra seating there. And you know, it has an L shape, it feels kind of natural in a space like that. Accent chairs are wonderful. It's really just about finding the right size rug and a round coffee table to go alongside those to really increase the flow. Something like a dining room though, a piece of furniture is gonna make the difference there. A round dining table will allow you access to more of the floor than a square table will, and it actually gets you more seating area. I find that like a square table you can seat 4 people at, but a round table that's a similar dimension, you can seat 5. So that's beneficial also, and you get more access to floor space. And then, you know, you start talking about a rug for a dining room if you're in that situation. I like to be able to pull the chair out and have the back of the legs still be on the rug. So that usually is like 24 inches or so larger than the table is, but that's just a general rule. It's okay to be a little bit bigger than that. The whole point is I don't want to slide the chair in and then get the back legs caught on a rug. So just bear that in mind. When it comes to a small home though, layouts make a big difference. They have to be intentional. You have to be thinking about how are we walking through here, because we don't want to walk into a space to be met with the back of a piece of furniture. That doesn't feel inviting or open to us. It makes the space actually feel smaller. Obviously, one of the things we have to talk about when it comes to a small home and decorating it, making it look expensive, is storage. I find that small homes, even older homes, don't have enough storage for modern day living. And that's okay, but we've got to add some of that in there to take advantage of it, because the biggest thing that is going to achieve you a luxury effect in a smaller home is a lack of clutter. Decluttering, not having stuff everywhere or lots of small things, makes your home look more open, feel more curated and bigger, and less busy. That busyness is really what is going to distract from the space you do have and make your home feel cluttered and even smaller. So pieces of furniture that have closed storage are your best friend. And there are a lot of creative options out there. There's sectional sofas where they actually have storage underneath, where they're like the chaise lounge part of it lifts up and you can put stuff in there. Great, you can get a closed coffee table, like a trunk style table or something, with some storage in it. A console table, a TV cabinet that has closed storage. All of those are really good ideas to add more storage into the space. And then when it comes to having things out and accessorizing and decluttering, go big or go home. small is not necessarily your best friend in a smaller space. I'd rather have a few large pieces than a lot of small ones. And I mean accessories like candles and little trays and trinket dishes. Let's minimize them or corral them together. Get larger coffee table books and maybe set those things on them. One lamp instead of two smaller lamps. A big piece of artwork. I love statement artwork. And in a smaller space, they'll actually make it look larger. That's a trick that stagers use in homes, and especially model homes. They'll put really big artwork on the walls because it makes a space feel bigger. It just has to be the right proportions and dimensions to achieve that. So really look at what can you bring into the space that's a little bit bigger. Maybe it's a little layered, but will reduce the amount of clutter in this space, because that is really what's going to make a room look larger. If it's not feeling full, like it's jam-packed, there's stuff in every corner, it's going to feel bigger. But that additional storage space will also add to more organization. And what I also notice is that for me and the type of person I am, if I can't see it, I probably won't use it. But that also means that I'm hyper aware of the things I have because they're placed in areas that I access a lot. Well, I can address the areas that I don't access, the things that I don't go through and see on a daily basis, and say, well, I haven't used it in 6 months. Do I really need it? Is this something I have to keep? And then I can minimize the things I have so I'm not overwhelmed with stuff. And that's a great thing to keep in mind. However, reducing the amount of things you have isn't always the answer because, it takes things to live life. You need the same amount of stuff in a small space as you do a large space to do the same tasks, okay? You have to have it, so sometimes it's about having the proper storage for those items and getting creative with what you do have. And maybe you add additional organizers in them to really achieve great organization in your home, because that is a key to achieving beautiful design in a small space. Decluttering, great organization, and being intentional. Well, there you have it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure you give it a like, and I would also suggest that if you need help with those living room layouts, you check out this video right over here all about them, and I will see you over there.